if you look today on the road system, it's very possible that you might be in a Toyota Camry paying fuel excise to use the roads, and behind you or in front of you or beside you there might be someone in a Tesla that's not making the same contribution. I think most people understand that roads have to be paid for, and actually everybody should make their fair share to paying to build and maintain roads. I don't think it's so much about a free ride as modernising the system we have for paying for roads and making sure everybody's making their fair contribution.
How large is the fuel excise shortfall currently on account of the increasing take-up of electric vehicles?
Well, right now at the pump, when you fill up with petrol or diesel, you pay about 51 cents a litre in fuel excise, and overall that's just north of $15 or $16 billion annually to the federal budget. But it's a revenue stream that's in terminal decline.
Your organisation, of course, has long argued for a distance-based road user tax for EVs. Can you briefly explain how it would work and how it would compare to what owners of petrol and diesel cars currently pay in fuel excise?
We don't actually have to look far to see how this would work. New Zealand's had this in place for a couple of years. In fact, they've announced recently they'll be extending their distance-based charge to all vehicles.
Have you put a value on it? How much would it cost EV owners?
Yeah, so if you were to do an equivalent rate to that which is raised from fuel excise, it's about 5 cents a kilometre. If you applied a 5 cents per kilometre charge on an electric vehicle, that would be equal and equivalent to the average of an internal combustion engine vehicle, and that would ultimately stop that revenue decline. But actually this is about having a future-proofed system, and it's also having a way of increasing the uptake of electric vehicles by funding some of the infrastructure that supports them.
Which stakeholders were sitting around your roundtable today?
We had a broad range of members of Infrastructure Partnerships Australia. We also had some observers, officials listening in to the discussion. And there was real policy consensus that this is the right solution to the problem and now is the time to act.
The EV Council has told the ABC it was not invited. Why not invite the peak representative body for EVs?
We invited a broad range of industry, including the motoring clubs, the NRMA and the AAA, and a broad range of views to discuss this issue. And what was clear from the room is that the bulk of people understand that roads have to be paid for, and the fairest way to pay for roads is for everybody to make a contribution.
Are you saying that the EV Council does not understand that?
What I'm saying is that that group today understood that the right way to address the lack of fairness in the existing system and the declining revenue is to put a distance-based charge, starting with electric vehicles. That's the logical place to start, but also supporting the uptake of electric vehicles. One of the ideas to come out of today was taking that revenue raised by a distance-based charge and using it to invest in charging infrastructure, so you can address the main anxiety, which is range anxiety, for the uptake of electric vehicles.
The EV Council says international experience demonstrates that a road user charge at this early stage of the EV adoption process would be a disincentive to wider take-up and slow progress to net zero. Do you concede that is a risk?
On the contrary, what the discussion today said was that if you can use the revenue generated by something like this to invest in things like the charging networks, the infrastructure that supports EV uptake, this can be a way of turbocharging that outcome. It's also true that when we had a distance-based charge in Victoria, there was no impediment to uptake, and it's not been the experience in places like the US or in New Zealand that have these charges in place today.
The EV Council lists a number of countries where they say it has been such a disincentive, and they believe that this also would be a disincentive to the take-up of EVs in regional areas. What is your response to that?
I think we can do a lot to support the uptake of electric vehicles. There are very generous subsidies in place right now, but we think actually the principal issue around uptake of electric vehicles is range anxiety, and by using something like the revenue from a road user charge to bolster the charging network, you can increase uptake, particularly in regional areas for those longer distance drives. So we think there's a win-win opportunity here to both make the system fairer, but also to increase the uptake of EVs.
Adrian Dwyer, thank you.
Thank you.